everyone, we are the Group 6. We are assigned to tackle about the digital divide, technology, and inequality. So I am Marigold L. Mocorro. I was assigned to report about the inequality. As you can see in the picture shows inequality wherein makita nato na ang isa ka side is nagpuyo kay mga pobre. Sa pikasad na side, nagapakita sad siya nga mga dato ang nagpuyo where globalization may not be the sole driver of global income inequality. A common narrative frames globalization as the cause of inequality by shifting low-skilled jobs from wealthier countries to poorer countries. Economic integration has increased inequality within countries while lowering inequality between them. The inequality debate has long been a prominent feature of our politics, and many other social and cultural forces are now interpreted in light of it. We have certainly come to understand the progress of technology in that light. Many analysts have argued in recent years that technological advances tend to intensify economic differences because technology disproportionately increases the incomes of those most likely to take advantage of it. Thus, they say technological innovation is a driver of inequality. Positive wealth technology feedback may fuel inequality in a growing society. Heterogeneous access to technology can potentially accelerate the rise in inequality. Left unabated, rising inequality can trigger a resource collapse and poverty. Equity and access to resource are key for ecological resilience and poverty reduction. It is very true that people living around the 80% of global income, the poor and middle class of the developed world have seen little real income gain from globalization, whereas many of the poor and middle class of the developing world have been greatly continued to experience substantial gains while the poorest people in the world have not seen such growth at all. So ang mga dato samot sila kadato while ang mga pobre nasamot sila kapobre. In the Philippines, where more than a quarter of country's populations of 92.3 million lives below the poverty line, economic and social inequality is a major problem. The Philippines has one of the highest rates of income inequality in the world, and unless action is taken, the gap will continue to widen. One way globalization can increase inequality through the effects of increasing specialization and trade. So, makita biagi nato ang difference sa gawas ug sa dari sa Philippines. If naka sa gawas nag-work ka and human power imuhang ginagamit or like imuhal yung skills, mas dako jud imong sweldo. Ang mga farmers dito mo may like na isa sa mga pinakadato dito sa gawas, whereas daari sa Philippines ang mga farmers ang pinakagamay og sweldo, pinakagamay og money, pinakagamay og income. And let's continue to the technological global.
I am Eliza L. Arteta, and I am the third reporter for this group. This represents how the technology had evolved all over the world. By the means of technology, it has impacted a massive change in our global economy, sharing of innovative ideas that turn into a new technological advances. It has led us to experience the benefit of being dependent in the modern technology. All this has both created and mandated greater interdependence among firms and nations. The technological global or the technological globalization refers to the cross-cultural development and exchange of technology, which refers to the transfer and spread of technologies from the industrialized to underdeveloped countries around the world. It is the growing speed of technological dissemination across the global economy. The speed with which the culture is diffused has changed as a result of technological advances. Sharing of ideas, information, goods, services through globalization is also possible because of the advances in communication, technology, and the media. Moreover, technological globalization is accelerated in large part by technological diffusion or the spread of technology across the borders. In addition, the technological advances in areas like mobile phones can lead to competition by lowering the price and concurrent improvements in related areas such as mobile banking and information sharing, such as the land bank, the BPO, the GCash, and more applications downloaded in our Google Play Store that made our lives to easily transact in our daily needs, such as information sharing in our social media accounts using Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and etc. The circular nature of the feedback loops affecting the technological development cannot be stressed too much. All the numerous technology studies of the 20th century share one conclusion that it is simply wrong to conceptualize technological evolution according to a simple linear model, no matter how appealing that the simplification is, because technological evolution is neither simple nor linear. Now let's proceed to the next reporter.
So let's
Thank you.
continue to the digital age. The digital age refers to the time period in which personal computers and other subsequent technologies were introduced to provide users the ability to easily and rapidly transfer information. Sometimes digital age is kanang known as the information age or the computer age, especially and more on nagagamit na tag computers, laptops, cell phones to internet access has developed over the years with more than 70% of Filipinos going online regularly nowadays. The lifestyle of Filipinos, especially the ones residing in metropolitan areas and the suburbs, has significantly been changed by the internet in an accountable aspects such as freelance work. Some Filipinos chose to work from home primarily to escape the inconvenience of transportations. So, mas daghan sa mga Filipino people na nagapili og work from home, it's because very convenient and kanang naay mga jobs online na kanang very flexible ang kanang schedule, online shopping or selling. Um, Mostly gyud kanang people nowadays kanang naga-purchase na gyud sila online. Sa online daghan kay kag makita and kanang affordable pa jud, especially if kanang daghan kag paliton na ay mga sale inganana. Using technology to connect and maintaining long distance relationship. Karon kay especially karon pandemic, ako jud kay tabang ang internet to connect with one another. Naga Google Meet ta ana para maka-learn, para magtudlo ang atong mga teachers, and especially kanang connect loved ones or mga friends nato around the world. As kanang lisod man kaayo igawas and daghan kaayo restrictions and daghan kay pangitaon na mga papers if mo to pa kasalain na lugar, and very helpful kaayo ang technology sa ato karon. So next.
So, our next topic is the digital divide. Information and communication technologies provide numerous benefits, including increased access to information, labor cost reductions, and increased interconnection between individuals. The fact that 3G and 4G networks, although awaiting the tremendous development of 5G, are already reaching practically in every corner of the planet. Digitalization is not happening uniformly over the world due to imbalance and technological gap that separates certain countries from others. So, for example, the coronavirus spread in different countries, including the Philippines, that caused us to be locked up in our house, which means that we had to study through online platforms, work with different technologies, and look into each other's eyes through a camera. So, the access to internet has enabled many of us to get on with our lives, for us to continue the things needed in the new normal, despite the pandemic. So, with the help of modalities such as remote working and online education, but in reality, we all know that isn't the same. So, all over the world, there is an imbalance. So, there are countries that are advanced in technology and some countries are not, especially the third class countries. So, as we can see in the picture, we can say that digital divide encompasses not only access to and use of ICTs, but also the competence and understanding of how to use the vital resources in today's society. So the disparity between those who have access to ICT services and those who do not have may be seen everywhere, even within the same organization, and it has a significant impact on an entity's development. Gender, color, and education, and also money are only a few of the elements that divide society into well-informed and poorly informed groups. Next is the causes of digital divide. Some are the following factors of the digital divide, such as low literacy and income levels, geographical restrictions, lack of motivation to use technologies, lack of physical access to technologies, and digital illiteracy contribute the digital divide also. So there are types of digital divide such as access divide, where people have the possibilities to access some resources. Use divide is the lacking skills in handling technology, and the last one is the quality of to use gap, where people have the skills to find their way on the internet but do not have the knowledge to make use of it. The digital divide was previously attributed to underdevelopment, and it was thought to be a passing trend that would fade away as technology became more widely used. Rather, despite the widespread marketing of technological gadgets with internet connectivity, the disparity persists today. So the digital divide has aided in the growth of disparities across states in the comparison to the underdeveloped world. The developed world has considerably better access to knowledge, while the majority of individuals in industrialized countries have access to the modern technology, including the high-speed internet connections, reliable data plans, and the availability of more complex and sophisticated products. So, on the other hand, many people in the third world nations do not have the advantages, and access to the internet is sometimes difficult because knowledge is so important in facilitating production. This disparity has generated a global economic split. The next topic is the types of digital divide. So technological discrimination is a form of poverty and social exclusion, depriving some citizens of essential resources for development and wealth generation. Some consequences of digital divide are the following: the lack of communication and isolation, where people in remote areas who do not have access to the internet are disconnected. Something similar happens to urban residents who are disconnected, which causes social isolation. Second, the barriers to studies and knowledge, where like the coronavirus crisis has shown the effects of the digital divide in education. So teachers and students out of the loop because they have lack sufficient technologies and digital skills. It also increases lack of knowledge by limiting access to knowledge. The third one is the accentuating social differences. The digital illiteracy reduces the chance of finding a job and accessing quality employment, which has a negative impact on the workers' economy. The last one is the gender discrimination. We saw from the outset the digital gap has a greater negative impact on women than on males, which is in violation of gender equality norms. Technology has a significant impact on the degrees of relationships between members of society, since it creates new social chances when we use ICT in our interactions. Chat rooms allow us people to stay in touch with friends or meet new connections even when they are on tight schedule. Furthermore, the internet contains a wealth of knowledge on people's culture and religion, which is critical in guiding social relations. People with internet connectivity have access to a wider range of opportunities, resulting in a societal division between those who are enriched and those who are lacking. Segregation like this can lead to social conflicts in areas where the wealthy have access to computers and the internet, but the poor are not. The measures to bridge divide, which began on a personal level with unacceptable acts such as the theft and resulted in societal discord. Technology has a variety of effects on different civilizations, both beneficial and harmful. Technology has drastically changed the fundamental components of culture, such as relationships, communications, and art. Some distinct rituals and cultural traditions, however, appear to have survived. Industrialized world's culture undergoes significant changes. It incorporates new cultures obtained through the internet, whilst the underdeveloped world's culture remains unchanged due to limited internet access. People in technology deficient countries are left behind because they lack to technology. People, on the other hand, require access to technology in order to close the digital gap. The elimination of the global ICT divide is critical for the development of developing countries. Development of information infrastructure is a fast track to economic development for developing countries. While the digital gap is necessary for the preservation of particular cultures, the negative consequences are enormous and immediate steps to reduce. If not eliminate, it should be addressed. So
Good day, everyone. I am Caday, and my assigned topic is all about the digital divide and inequality. But first, let me define the difference between digital divide and digital inequality. So, when we say digital divide, it is the gap between those who have access to digital technologies and those who do not. While on the other hand, the digital inequality emphasizes spectrum of inequality across segments of the population depending on differences along several dimensions of the technology access and use. Modern technology has transformed and touched almost every aspect of the individual. It has become more accessible and more affordable for everyone nowadays. A digital divide between rich and poor remains that the rich and educated are still more likely than others to have good access to digital resources. However, for children in low-income school districts, inadequate access to technology can hinder them from learning the technology skills that are crucial to success in today's economy. So nowadays, technology become one of the most important elements in today's societies, right? So even the young ones and the old ones seems to be deeply involved with the technology. Can dispute the fact that technology has helped to improve our lives and to change for the better. However, technology also been the cause of inequalities. So there is a substantial gap between the rich and the poor in accessing technology. Wealth is directly correlated to technology access. For instance, students who are in rural areas, not to which they have poor internet connections, access to electronic devices, and cannot compete with students who have the capability to adapt to technological advancement. No? So, even sa karon na online class, no, we can say that naadjay ka ng inequality paabot sa technology wherein katong mga students nga na belong sa rich family kay ma-provide jud ang ilang panginahanglanon na mga gadgets for online class. Now, on the other hand naman, sa katong mga students nga na belong sa poor family na even sa pagpalit og phone for online class is dili jud ma-provide sa ilaha. And that is why no, naay mga students na kaning lack of skills sa kaning computers, no, lack of kaning education usahay, then even dili ka mao mogamit og computer. So, naadjay ka ng inequalities between rich and poor pag-abot sa technology. Access to technology exacerbates inequality. Since countries have unlimited resources for investing research in advancements, thus developing countries have little or no research done in advancing technology and most often are dependent on the advancement done in technological advanced countries. So based on one article that I've read now, so there are 60 population in the world is offline. So in internet access, there are 31% of people in developing economies and on the other hand, 80% of people in advanced economies. So that is why nga yung mga advanced countries in terms of technology will gain greatest quality of life benefits from major progress in technology. While those least advanced or let us say katong mga developing countries will benefit only, they can overcome barriers to technology implementation. So kita jud nato nga naadjay inequality between those advanced countries and developing countries, right? Inequality exacerbates the inability to access technology. So while it is true that access to technology can lead to technological stagnation and slow progress, the same can be argued that inequality further worsens access to technology. The building of new technology requires materials and resources and often requires technology to create better technology. Inequality, therefore, is directly related to technology and vice versa. So, in closing this gap of digital divide and inequality, no, so first, students and families should have access to the internet. So through the kind of subsidies or enhancement of school computer laboratories. Second is provision of computers, laptops, iPads of low cost or no cost for the needy students and families. No, so third one is education is the key factor in providing a solution to digital divide. No, so teachers should be trained in using ever-changing technology. Fourth, or the last one is state and local initiatives that put laptops in all students' hands to help close the technology gap and lessen the achievement gap. So
Now let's
that's
move on to the conclusion. We conclude that understanding how technological progress reduces inequality of consumption that can help us to redirect government policy to reduce inequality to further steal. Public policy aimed at reducing inequality should focus not on direct transfers of wealth, but on improving education and increasing innovation. Innovation creates more ideas that all can benefit from in common, such as education. Meanwhile, it allows a wider, fuller enjoyment of these ideas and itself is a sport to innovation. It should be noted that acknowledging technology's capacity to reduce inequality does not mean rejecting government have influenced our daily lives and made us even more dependent on technology. Therefore, it is in our best interest in promoting innovation and with the smart use of technology by a purpose that has technology in a way that doesn't harm others to be aware of the impact and the society at large. And a society with a low economy can be a positive sum game in which gains to some rapidly redound to the benefit of all. And that would be all. Thank you.
Remember the house where I was